What is up, guys? Toasty Bros here, and we are here with part 2 of how to build a PC guide. Alright, so as I said before, this is part 2 of how to build a PC guide, and basically if you haven't seen part 1, please go check out the channel. Basically this is just an overview of how to build a PC. We're doing a step-by-step instruction guide on how to build a PC, from putting the processor in, to the thermal paste, to the cooler, to all the stuff that you need to know if you're a beginner PC builder. Alright, so I'm going to go over the components we have here. First off is the motherboard, which is an ASRock Z77 Extreme 3. It rocks the 1155 socket for our i7, which I'll go over in a little bit. It has the basic components here. It has a USB 3, just normal USB, Ethernet port, and just the basic connectors. It's a pretty basic motherboard, and it does the job for this build. So next off, we'll just go in order here. We have a 1TB Western Digital hard drive, just a basic 7200 RPM hard drive. Over here we have 2 DIMMs of Ripjaws G.Skill DDR3 1600 MHz RAM. It looks pretty nice, even though color coordinated it's really bad. But like, I mean, it was good when I got it. But yeah, it's quality. And then next here, let's try not to knock it down again. We have the i7 2600K, which rocks the socket 1155. I actually had this overclocked to 4.2 GHz, which you can check out a video on that on the Toasty Bros channel. I'll set this out of the way best I can. Right here, we have this sexy beast of a graphics card. I actually love this cooler, by the way. It's the XFX R9 270X 2GB model. It's actually a pretty nice graphics card. I got it at a very high price when the whole Bitcoin mining craze was going on, but right now you can get this for a really good price. And wow, the sticker just came off of it. Anyways, I'll put this back over here. Next, we have the Hyper 212 Evo, which is the cooler I also made a video on. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check it. It's a really nice cooler. I really think in this build I'm actually going to fix it because I had some contact issues, but it is a really nice cooler. And then lastly, but not least, the Cooler Master Half 912. It's kind of an older case, but it does the job for me. I might actually upgrade it in the future, but like, this is actually a great case, and this whole build altogether. Oh yeah, one more thing, my fault. We got the power supply here. The Corsair CX 500 watt power supply. It is bronze certified. It runs everything basically good enough. I might need to upgrade that eventually, but that's a whole nother story. This is our PC. This is what we're putting together, step by step, every little inch of it, no matter how long this is. We'll have a little probably annotations to skip throughout the video because we're gonna go all out with this. We're making this like freaking high quality. Yep. But yeah, that's basically the parts. So let's get right into it.
First thing we usually like to do when it comes to building a PC is just putting the processor in. So, you know, with each platform it's going to be different. With AMD, you have pins. So you can see this one, the actual pins aren't on the processor itself. They're actually inside of the actual motherboard. So, you know, a little bit of difference there, but either way it's going to be pretty simple, and Matt's going to go ahead and show you how to do it on the Intel one. So you're going to lift up the little pin that actually holds the processor down. And then with AMD they won't have this, but you can see it has this little latch right here, which actually just holds it all down. So you're going to gently place it in, no pressure needed. Yeah, make sure you line up those arrows. Notice how he just kind of just drops it in, and it'll just drop in, and that's how you know you did it right. And you know, if you guys accidentally do, and you can see he's putting it back down, if you guys do bend any pins, it is possible to bend them back, you know, if you're going with AMD. So just letting you guys know that if you bend the pin, it's not the end of the world. You can bend it back and it can still work. So as you can see, he just simply secured it down. You know, it takes a small amount of force because it is, you know, spring activated, but nothing too much. Okay, so the second step we usually like to go with is putting your RAM in. So like we said, we got 2 sticks, and Matt's going to show you, you're going to have to undo these little pins that actually hold the sticks in. As you can see, a little bit of pressure there. Just unhook them. And then you're gonna, like a lot of people say, don't force RAM in, which you don't want to force it, but it is going to take some pressure to get those pins to close. I usually you know, push it in just enough to where I can kind of push the pin closed with my finger a little bit. But as you can see, you know, Matt just used enough pressure to where he was able to just push it in. And next one, he's gonna put in an opposite slot. So you're not gonna put them side by side. Usually, you usually want to kind of alternate them, but you know, we're not totally sure on that. We're not, you know, go check out Linus if you want to know more about that. Who actually sponsors this video? I'm just kidding. That was the false alarm. But as you can see, Matt has both sticks in. You know, you could have up to 4 sticks if you wanted to, and the same process. You know, just undo those pins and then plop those in. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, because most people forget to do this, is we're gonna be putting the I/O cover on there. So like I said, most people forget to do this, and you gotta take everything back out and put it back in. It's really simple. It just kind of snaps in. It's gonna take a little pressure, but you know, there's really not too much to break on it or anything. And you'll definitely know when it's in all the way, because you'll be able to see the, you know, back of it's lined up. You can kind of hear it clicks in. You know, it's a pretty noticeable, good sound. Alright, so far we've already done the processors in, and then we've gotten the RAM in, and we put the I/O cover on. And then next is, usually when you get a new case, you're not going to have those risers already in, which basically just keep the motherboard off the metal. Some cases will come with them pre-installed, other cases may not. Matt's going to show you what one looks like. So you can see it's just like a little metal piece, and then the screw actually goes into that metal piece, so it's like you're putting 2 screws into it.
Okay.
Alright, so now we're going to just be putting the motherboard into the case. So it's going to line up with that I/O cover that we put in there. And pretty much every, you know, motherboard installation is going to be, you know, relatively the same. It's not too complicated. Just line it up with that I/O cover, and then you're going to be able to see the screw holes through the holes on there. And then you're basically just going to screw it in. Usually every, you know, case will come with actual screws that are designed for the risers that it comes with. But, you know, you can buy aftermarket ones. There's all sorts of different things you can do in each case. So we're just going to put the screws in. You know, you don't have to put a screw in every single one. Just depending on, you know, what you're doing, you can use as many as you want.
Just recommend that you just go ahead and put it in every single one.
Like, I mean, if it's a new build, go ahead and use every single one. If you're missing some screws, it's not going to hurt you. Okay, so now we're putting in the power supply. Now you can do this in either order. You could put the power supply in, you know, very first thing. It really does not matter. So there's usually going to be about 4 or 5 screw holes in the back, and as you can see, it just kind of slides in. Pretty obvious on, you know, which ways it goes in. And then, like I said, you're going to put those screws in. Once again, you know, it's not going to kill you if you lose a screw or anything, but you know, if you have the screws, go ahead and use them all. And then there's different types of power supplies. There's modular and non-modular, and then there's, you know, micro ATX. There's different size power supplies, but you know, you should be able to pretty easily tell, you know, what size power supply your case can take. Which, like I said, you know, check out our compatibility guide in, you know, our first part. Okay, so next we're going to be putting the graphics card in, and we're going to be using a 16X PCI port. So, you know, you're going to usually have 1 or 2 of these, but you'll know which one's which because usually they'll have a latch on them. It's usually the only PCI that has a latch, and it should be the only one that'll fit your graphics card.
So you just want to lower it in real nice, take out the back panels on the side of the case. I'll let you guys see that. Mine don't have any on there, but there should be like little back.
Yeah, here's an example. You got one left right there.
Yeah, one right here. You move them out of the way so you can put the I/O sticking out the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. This is like, sometimes you gotta be very careful with this because you can mess it up. I've done it before. Personal experience. I don't even know if I got it in all the way. Jeez. Pressure on me.
And yeah, kind of like the same thing with the RAM. It's not just gonna, you know, fall into. You're gonna have to put a little bit of pressure on it. Okay. Which yeah, it's good. Okay. You got it in all the way.
All right.
Usually Matt doesn't have his anymore. It actually broke off of here, but normally you'll hear it click. This little piece that holds it. Yeah. And just remember, when you go to take it off, you're gonna have to actually unlatch that.
Let me get some screws. screws. Any screws really work for this part. I mean, like...
Yeah, you can see right up here, you still got the screw holes to keep it from, wiggling. Once again, if you don't have a screw, you can get away with not having it, but, still, like we said, suggest.
I would recommend for graphics cards you put one.
Plus, it's really, we've had a couple of computers where we didn't have these, and it's really annoying because when you go to plug stuff in, you can knock the graphics card out.
And that's scary.
Yeah, it is.
Because graphics card can be one of the most expensive pieces in your system.
Yep. So you can see just one little screw goes in there just to keep everything still from shaking around.
One little screw tries to go in there. Yeah, I'm trying to... Okay. Alright, there we go.
Okay, so we got it in.
I'm just gonna... Alright, you know what? Just for professional wise, I'll do two.
And as you can see, Matt has his anti-static wristbands on. Okay, but yeah, a quick note about that. If you watch videos, a lot of the YouTubers usually do not use them. No, we're not saying, because the professionals do it, you should. But basically, with the anti-static wrist straps, it's kind of one of those things where it depends on the person you are. Some people usually carry more static than others, and honestly, in all the years that Matt and I have both been building PCs, we've never once had a part die on us, from electrostatic discharge.
I've had part dying from just sitting.
Yeah.
But that's totally different.
But I mean, it's kind of it is a safety precaution that we would suggest to people building it for the first time and they're just worried. But for us, after you've done it so many times, you realize that you just don't even want to use them anymore. Okay, so next, here's your basic 5-inch hard drive. So you can see they have these holes in the side. Those can take screws, or in this case, Matt's case comes with these little things that you actually just clip in there, and then they're actually really useful. You clip them in, and then your hard drive just easily comes out as one big piece. No screws to detach or anything, but like we said, some hard drives will go on with screws. This one's actually kind of optional. You could put screws on if you wanted to, but you can see it slides in there. Here, click. There you go. And now you can see solidly in place. And then you just gotta do your 2 SATA connections to it, and then you're good. Let's go and move to the next part. Okay, so first thing when it comes to connections that we're gonna be doing is hooking up the power and just pretty much everything else that's on the front of your computer. So usually your motherboard will come in the actual manual. It'll say what is what. So in our case, and like we said, every single one will be different, and then you're basically gonna have these pins coming off your board. And each one, sometimes the board has it labeled, sometimes it doesn't. Like in this case, it doesn't. We're going off of a picture that we took to actually show which pin goes to what. And in some cases, if it doesn't come with anything, just play around with it. Unplug it and then plug it back into a different one and see, which pins are actually the power and all that, and which one, does what. Because that's something that you got to figure out to actually be able to even turn the computer on from the power switch. Like ultra zoomed in right now.
Oh yeah.
Got like some midget thumbs.
I didn't even plug in the reset switch before, but it goes right here.
Now you know.
Hey, let's go.
Okay, so next thing we're gonna be doing after we've gotten the headers all hooked up is Matt's just gonna be hooking up the various things that need power. So he's gonna be kind of doing his own thing here, just rerouting and all that. As you can see, this case is one of those cool cases where you can take off the other side of the panel. There's Matt's face. And so that you can actually do really good cable management. Some cases won't have this, some will. Just depends. Okay, so first one is connecting is the power to the graphics card. Now, some graphics cards won't need extra power, but this one, as you can see, needs 2 PCI Express power connectors, which look like this. As you can see, it has 6 pins. Some graphics cards will have different amounts, so it all just depends. So now he just found a second one to plug in, and he's gonna route that through the same way. And he almost has it. He's gone, boom. And the click in, you got your little latches down there to keep them secure in there.
Okay. Let's just Let's go big boy here.
Alright, so now Matt's going to be plugging in the 20 plus 4-pin connector to the motherboard. This is basically just what supplies power to everything. So like I said, it's 20 plus 4 pins, and that's due to, you can see there's like a little add-on almost, where if you wanted to, you could power this motherboard with 20 pins, but that extra 4-pin provide extra power. So, you know, well actually most newer processors, if you're using a lot of wattage, you know, along with your RAM and every other component, you know, you're going to want the 24-pin connector, which most power supplies will come with nowadays. So as you can see, that one plugs in, clicks in just like the others, so it has a little latch in the back to keep it secure. Let's see what Matt will do next.
CPU!
Alright, so now Matt's doing his, I believe, is this a 4-pin CPU connector?
Okay, so I'll explain this. I'm probably going to fix this in the future, but I have an adapter, kind of ghetto-like. It's normally you would have a 6-pin for most modern CPUs, but 4-pin actually provides enough power most of the time, at least I think so.
Yeah, I mean my AMD 6300 runs off of 4-pins.
So I'm just going to route it with this adapter because I don't have enough length to do proper cable management if I don't, so that's just basically how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to wrap it around this back and out through this little hole right here.
Yeah, so he's actually powering his i7 with the 4-pin, just to kind of give you guys a little, you know, estimate on how much power you might need. Now, if you're doing something like, let's say, an AMD, you know, 8-core processor, you know, you'd probably need to have, you know, the 8-pin one. You know, it all just depends on the power consumption, because that's all you're doing is adding power to it.
Okay, and then what you're going to do next is the last thing we really need, and that is the hard drive.
Yeah,
well, then you're going to have to get the SATA connectors, but that's a whole different...
Yeah, Matt's now connecting the SATA with the hard drive, so... you know, this is SATA power, and after that he's going to be connecting a SATA, you know, to data connector, basically. This one just provides power, and you still would call it a SATA cable. There's other names for it. And then after that, oh, well, he just unplugged it. And then after that, he's going to plug in the actual SATA, which transfers the data around.
SATA that transfers the data.
There you go. That's how you can remember it. SATA to data, and then, you know, power to SATA.
Oh, well, might as well.
Oh, and then Matt's also, you know, this is another thing that comes with the case itself. You're going to have basically these spots in your motherboard where you can connect like your HD audio that's on the case, possibly. You know, it's the same type of stuff as you got here, where you connected these headers to your case. It's just, you know, basically peripherals, as in they don't have to be plugged in, but, you know, you're probably going to want them. And then you'll also have one for your USB, too.
Okay, just for advice, I don't use it, so I'm just going to put that somewhere else. But that's how you do it if you were wondering how to do it. And then, oh, USB, definitely.
Yeah, Matt is going to have his external USB. You can see that you have USB that'll come on your thing. Like, you know, I don't have external ones, like, because I don't really have a case. Mine's, you know, in my desk, but you can go check that out if you want. But, so with mine, I just use the ones back here. But, you know, Matt, as you can see, has some maybe up here. I don't know where they're at. Yeah, they're up there. Okay, so yeah, you know, if you have external ones on the case, you're going to need that connection. And these should be labeled on your motherboard. Usually it'll say like USB 3 or USB 2, and then one will say like audio or HD audio. And these aren't like the, you know, they aren't like this one. They go in one position, you know, nothing else. You can see it's just one solid connector.
Okay, so transition next into fan headers.
Next thing we're going to be doing is installing the fan and heatsink. So basically, normally your computer, the motherboard will come with basically a pre-installed backplate. As you can see, ours is an aftermarket one, but for this video's sake, we're not going to show us installing the backplate because everyone's different. Just look up whatever, if you are doing aftermarket, look up how to install, you know, that fan if you really can't figure it out. But it's usually fairly simple, and that goes the other way. But it's usually fairly simple, and you know, it won't take too much. But we are going to show you how to put the thermal paste on. We will show you how to put the fan on, just so you guys know how to do that.
You're doing thermal paste.
Okay. Am I going to put it on the processor?
Yeah, cuz.
What do you want me to do? Just one straight line?
Whatever you think.
I'm going to do smiley. Really? So normally I just do a smiley face just to get a reference. Okay, so next thing we're going to be doing, before we put the heatsink on, is if you're going with an aftermarket one, Usually you're gonna have to put your own cooling paste on. A lot of times though, it will come pre-applied, you know, even if it is aftermarket.
It's cooling pasta.
Yeah, this is actually cooling pasta, which is apparently what they call it in Australia. Okay, so this is kind of like a big, you know, do it however I guess you feel like. Just make sure you don't overdo it or underdo it. For this video, we're just gonna do a basic straight line. We're gonna do 2 little dots on each side here. And then once you press it down though, it's going to spread around a lot. Like as in, it's going to flatten, so you got to remember, all that's going to spread around. So you can see we did a pretty thick little line and 2 little dots off to the side. And you know, you can, you'll know if you have good contact once you turn it on, and you know, you just listen to that fan. If it's, you know, ramped up and you see in your BIOS that it's 100, you know, 1,000 degrees Celsius, you're probably not on there good enough.
Now this is the part that's like literally pains me.
Yeah, because now putting it on the, you know, the cooling paste, so that's kind of the scary part is, you know, you don't want to, you want to try to get it on the first time and not rub it around super much, because then it's just going to get everywhere. Freaking fans on it. Okay, so suggested you should do one side like a little bit tighten, because as you can see I'm having to push this down because I tighten one side a lot. So yeah, you basically want to evenly distribute the pressure, especially if you have springs on it, because you don't want one side of the CPU cooler pushing down more than another. And okay, so with this, you are going to want a really good amount of contact. Like, don't go easy on, and as you can see, we're not quite...
We're not even on it?
I think we're off position.
Yeah, we were like way off.
Yeah, we're off position. So we're gonna let some of the slack up on this side. We're not going to completely... Okay, so as you can see, we got it tight enough to where if you give it like a nice little wiggle, it doesn't even move. So that's basically what you want. That's how you know you have good contact, if it's not sliding around on there. So now, Matt's just going to connect this fan real quick. It just clips right on there.
One thing to look into when you're getting a CPU cooler, a custom one, is RAM clearance. If you have like high RAM, like the Ripjaws RAM, I can't get this to clear over top.
Yeah, so he couldn't have dual fans if he wanted to.
See, I couldn't really do dual fans on here unless I got a different fan.
Yeah, which you know, if he wanted to, he could, you know. But in this case, we broke. We broke that 25 seconds to do this. Can you do it? Is he about it?
Yeah, we're good. I'm about it.
Oh, you just broke it. Okay, so now Matt's going to be plugging the CPU fan connection into the CPU fan header. So it's actually labeled, usually all motherboards will be. Plugs right in, you won't be able to really mess it up because it only goes on one way. There will be different amounts of pins just depending on what you're doing, and a lot of motherboards don't have this second CPU fan connection, like unless you spend a little more money on it, or if it's just a lot newer, they probably usually come with them. So next we're just going to be doing a system fan.
Which you just plug into power fan right here.
Yeah, or sometimes the different names, sometimes it'll say chassis fan or it'll say system fan, but pretty much all of those usually just mean, case fan. So you just want to look for those open spots. You can see Matt has 2 extra fans right now, which are those 120s?
Yeah, they're 120s.
120s.
Juan. Bam. Okay.
So you can see, get that. Okay, so next we're going kind of backtracking. We're going to be hooking up that SATA power or SATA connection. SATA to data we were talking about. So we already got the power one plugged in, which we did earlier, and now we're plugging in the actual one that's going to transfer the data for us. So we might have to turn our thing back over unless Matt can manage this.
I can probably pull this off.
You really think you can pull it off?
Ah, wait, here we go.
Oh, yep. See, there we go.
That's how it comes in handy.
So that's why it's great. Normally you'd have like 4 screws you got to remove, but with this, you just slide it right out. So you can see.
There goes the power.
So now here's the struggle. This is what happens when you try to go backwards.
I can't hold my legs.
So you guys want to do a separate video on P90Xing? Yeah, just there you go, straight down it.
That was a workout.
Alright, so there you go. You can see that slid it back in, and he has it nice and good in there now.
So that's our build, yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's pretty much all we can think of. We covered pretty much everything that is involved in just a normal day-to-day PC build. If you think guys see that we really left out anything pretty important, just let us know, and we'll try to add it in some way. But
one thing is a CD drive, but I'm probably not even gonna put this back in because
same thing as a hard drive. Go ahead and show them the back though.
All you gotta do is you can do like 2 things and plug it in right here.
It's basically just gonna do.
I'm not gonna try doing that right now, but
and
you
plus
just slide
it goes
it
in from there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
With the CD drive, it comes to the front usually.
You know what, you guys? Okay, never mind. I quit.
This is why you don't use CD drives. No, but for real though, I haven't used a CD drive in any of my builds in forever. They just feel like dead weight now.
Alright, so we will boot this thing up and show you guys how that works.
Yep. Alright, so as you can see, we got everything put back together. We just kind of put the CD drive in there. It's not even hooked up though, just to make it look better.
Alright, so let's hit that power button.
Now as you can see, we have power.
I'll take the side panel off.
Yeah, we'll show you that the fans actually do indeed work. You can see both of these are working.
They're battling with each other.
Yeah, they we kind of have the airflow to where I think this one's blowing in and then this one's blowing that way. So
I'll fix that.
Maybe it's kind of coming through out here, but yeah, it would be a lot better if it was like either blowing out and then out, or in and then in. But
we'll figure it out.
Yep, we will.
All right, so thank you guys. If you have any other suggestions, peace.
Yep, just like we said, leave us some comments, some likes. Tell us what you thought about this, because we know a lot of people wanted it. We really hope that we really covered everything. We honestly tried our best. Maybe in the future we'll redo and make a better one, but we'll see. See you guys later, and hope you guys enjoyed.